Jonathan Schanzer. He's the Senior Vice President of Research at the Foundation for Defence of Democracies, the FDD. Welcome to the programme, Jonathan. So obviously, as we've been discussing, Qatar's endorsement of this plan is key. Right now, they're trying to persuade Hamas to accept it. They said last night that they would be able to persuade Hamas. Will they be successful? And do you think the Qataris will be perhaps modifying their behaviour going forward?
Well, it's interesting questions all around. I mean, I do think that the Israelis had already come to the conclusion that the Qataris were either unwilling or unable to deliver a deal. That was why the Israelis struck that apartment with Hamas operatives. They had essentially determined that Qatar was just a spent force, that they were not able to deliver on any of those diplomatic requests coming in from the United States or from the Israelis. So this would be an about face. If they are able to deliver, that's a good thing. But actually, I think the buried lead, the most important thing that no one's talking about from this 20-point plan, actually came out of the press conference with Trump and Bibi. Trump mentioned that there's going to be a new trilateral mechanism between Qatar, Israel, and the United States. My assumption is that they're going to start to talk about how many of those Qatari operatives, or rather, how many of those Hamas operatives should remain in Qatar, what the Qataris should be doing about the lingering Hamas presence there. What about the financing? Hamas has been enjoying a huge amount of money from the Qataris over the years, so I do get a sense that we may be on the precipice of some change as a result of what was deemed to be a failed strike on the part of Israel, but maybe the impact of that strike is still being felt. That would be a good thing.
In that it made the Qataris nervous and that this is becoming a bit too close to home for them, perhaps?
I think so. I think the Qataris didn't like seeing things go boom in their capital. I don't think they liked the concept of having blood on the carpet. Let me just put it this way. You've got a bunch of, senior diplomats and world leaders and, influencers and Hollywood stars, and they're all coming through Doha. And the Qataris are telling them that this is a safe place, that Qatar is a pro-Western country. All of a sudden, you see the Israelis attacking terrorists right in the heart of their capital. That's not something that's going to play well with the Qataris long term. This may have prompted them to do a little bit of rethinking. I hope that's the case. I will also just note that it's not just the Qataris who are uncomfortable. Speaking with other Gulf diplomats over the last couple of weeks, I've picked up that these are countries that were, look, I don't want to say they were happy with the war being in the Levant across, on the clear other side of the Middle East. But I will tell you, they really don't like the encroachment of this war into their territory. They thought they were safe. Now, perhaps they're not as safe, right? In the UAE, the Saudis, the Bahrainis, they don't want this war anywhere near them. And so I think that does explain how the Arab world has kind of rallied around the Trump plan. There may be things about it they love or don't love, doesn't really matter. I think they want the war to end. By the way, so does Europe, so does Israel, so does the United States. The only question that I have right now is really whether those patrons of Hamas in Iran, maybe Turkey, we've got to find out where they are on this right now. I know they're all talking a good game about ending the war. Are they truly interested? We'll find out.
Well, what about the future of Gaza there? Because according to reports, Israel was working quite hard to persuade President Trump not to allow Qatar to have any role in the future governance of Qatar. I mean, is Qatar playing the long game here? Can Israel really trust a country, a state which embraces Muslim Brotherhood ideology?
Look, I don't think they can. I think the Qataris, they're not going to change their spots. But I think this mechanism that was announced at that press conference could have significant bearing on the trajectory here. I don't think that the problem is that the Qataris have some involvement. I mean, if the Qataris wanted to fund the new, Gaza, that would be demilitarized, I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with that. But I think they will have a problem with the Qataris funding this new Gaza while also still being a patron of Hamas, still having Hamas operatives on their soil, still supporting Al-Qaeda and ISIS and the Taliban and the Muslim Brotherhood. This is not a good cocktail, right? This is a bad mixture of bad people and bad money. We don't want that moving forward. I hope that's the message that comes through loud and clear from the Israelis. I hope it comes through from the Trump administration, for that matter. The Qataris need an about face here. I think this was the wake-up call. Maybe, maybe they need more. But I will say this was a jolt. You can see the impact right now, and I think that's a good thing indeed.
Jonathan Schanzer, thank you very much indeed.